You may know a lot about English and have all this knowledge up here in your head, but if you lack confidence to speak and express yourself, you won't get very far with your English. So in this episode, I'm going to share with you some things that I did in my journey to become more confident as an English speaker, and more importantly, how you can be more confident yourself. Hey everybody, how's it going? Thiago here, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. In case you're new here, I've created this podcast and YouTube channel to help intermediate and advanced learners of English communicate with more confidence, accuracy, clarity, and more awareness. So if this sounds like something you want for yourself and your English, subscribe to this channel here on YouTube and follow the show if you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. That way you won't miss a single new episode I post. Registrations for my Conversation Club are officially open. Classes begin officially in August 2024 and run until November 2024. So if you are available every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. BRT, that's Brasilia time, and if you are already an intermediate speaker of English, consider joining the club. It's a great opportunity for you to practice speaking English with me and other learners every week in a live call. The link is here in the description of the video, also as a pinned comment below, and in the show notes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you're looking to improve your pronunciation considerably, check out my pronunciation course, which is still on pre-sale. This is a recorded course I've created to help you learn the main sounds of the English language and the main connected speech patterns that native speakers use in real life, in media, to speak faster. All right? So if you want to learn more about this stuff, check out my pronunciation course. Links also in the description, in the pinned comment below, and in the show notes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. All right, so let's talk a little bit about confidence, how to be more confident as an English speaker. And I'm going to start with my no bullshit, straight up answer to you, okay? The main thing that I did in my life, in my journey as an English learner to develop my confidence in English was I didn't think about it so much. Exactly. I didn't obsess over it. I didn't overthink it. Guys, for the life of me, I don't remember spending a lot of my time worrying about this stuff. Like, oh, I lack confidence. I don't have confidence to speak. I'm shy. I'm insecure. I don't remember thinking about this stuff often, you know? Yes, maybe I may have had some moments when I felt more insecure or a little bit afraid to speak to someone or to display my English, but that was quite rare, actually, you know? So I was so in love with the process of learning English. I loved the language. I loved learning about the language. I was so focused on that quite honestly, I didn't have time to think about this stuff like, oh, I lack confidence. I'm insecure. You know what I mean? My main focus back then was, I love this language. It's going to be important for me to learn this language. This is the language that I use to understand my favorite rock songs, my favorite rock bands, you know, my favorite movies, TV series. I love it. So my main focus was, I want to practice this language as much as I can. I want to practice speaking this language, seizing every opportunity. So whenever I meet a tourist in my hometown, whenever I meet an English teacher or a better English speaker than me, a foreigner, a native speaker, I'm going to go and talk to those people because I want to practice this language that I love so much. You see, that was my main focus back then. Yeah. So the no bullshit answer to that is this, guys. I mean, don't obsess over these negative thoughts. Have a more positive outlook on yourself and on your English learning. View this as something awesome that you are doing for yourself, you know? So don't spend time obsessing over this negative thinking, you know? I'm insecure, I'm shy, you know? So I'm going to start here, okay? I'm going to start with the no bullshit, straight up answer, all right? To be honest with you, I never obsessed over this stuff a lot in my journey. And I believe that having this more positive outlook always was a huge factor for me to develop confidence, okay? Now, having said that, I also understand that the landscape nowadays, the way society is nowadays, is very different from 25 years ago when I was learning English on my own. I understand that while, for example, technology, social media are great, they have also brought many problems, many challenges, and even more recent experiences like the pandemics that we have just been through, So I think that the landscape nowadays is different. I do believe that as a society, and I include myself in this, okay? I'm not speaking from the ivory tower here, okay? I do believe that as a society, we have all become more anxious. We have become more socially awkward. Maybe, especially for younger people nowadays, for younger generations, it's harder to go out there, talk to people, feel any sort of confidence in yourself, in your abilities. I understand that. So keeping in mind that the landscape today is different, I do want to talk to you here a little bit about confidence. I did some research on this topic. I want to first talk to you a little bit about the more personal development side of this topic. And then after that, I'm going to share with you some practical things that I did myself that I believe contributed to becoming more confident as an English speaker. Okay? So let's go over these topics together here. First of all, as I was doing the research for today's episode, guys, I came across this really nice definition of confidence. And it's a 3-part definition. It involves 3 things. Let me read them for you. What is confidence? Number 1, having the belief that you are valuable, worthwhile, and capable. In other words, you have good self-esteem. You love yourself. You treat yourself well, So you believe that you are valuable, that you have value to offer to the world, to other people, okay? You believe that you are worthwhile, and you believe that you are capable. That's the first part of the definition of confidence. The second part is having the optimism that comes when you are certain of your abilities. I just told you a little bit about having all that negative thinking, those negative thoughts, right, in your head. You see, being confident is about being optimistic. It's about being more of an optimistic person than a negative type of person. You feel optimism because you believe in yourself. You believe you are capable. You have talents, you have skills, you have value to share with people around you. Okay? And the third part of the definition of confidence is to act courageously when facing a challenge. To face a challenge head on. When you face a challenge head on, you don't hide from it, You face it head on. All right? So let me read that again. What is confidence? Having the belief that you are valuable, worthwhile, and capable. Having the optimism that comes when you are certain of your abilities. And finally, acting courageously and facing challenges head on. Okay? So I love this definition of confidence. It's a pretty well-rounded, complete definition. So reflect on this definition right now. Okay? Do you have good self-esteem? What about your level of optimism? Are you more of an optimistic type of person or a negative type of person? When you face a challenge, how do you usually act? Is your tendency to run away and hide or to face the challenge? So no judgment here. I just want you to reflect on these topics, okay? Something else related to building up your confidence as an English speaker and as a person has to do with growth mindset versus fixed mindset, okay? So what is the difference between having a fixed mindset and a growth mindset? If you have a fixed mindset, you believe that your abilities are fixed, okay? The abilities you have them from birth. You were born this way, Okay? You were born with those abilities or without certain abilities, and you believe that there's nothing you can do to change that. Okay? You are who you are. You are what you are. You can't grow anymore. You can't develop. This is a fixed type of mindset. Now, what about growth mindset? If you have a growth mindset, you believe that your abilities and skills are like a muscle. In other words, your abilities and skills can be developed. Just like you develop your muscles when you go to the gym, right? They get bigger and stronger. You can also make your abilities and skills stronger, more powerful, if you keep developing them or working on them. Okay? Now check it out. People with a growth mindset are more likely to be more confident because they are always learning, studying, and developing themselves. And they view failures as opportunities to learn and grow. You see, so whenever we face a challenge or even failure, if you have a growth mindset, you view that failure, that mistake, as an opportunity to learn and grow and not do that again. Okay? But if you have more of a fixed mindset, maybe the first obstacle, the first challenge, the first problem you encounter, you give up, you quit. You see? There's also lack of resilience there. Okay? It's about the concept of failing forward, you know? Ideally, if you have a growth mindset, you want to fail because, you know, we all fail. We are not perfect. We make mistakes, right? But you want to fail forward. To fail forward is to fail while making progress at the same time. How do you make progress if you're failing? By learning from your mistakes, by learning from your failures, and making sure that you don't repeat the same actions or the same mistakes. This is failing forward, okay? So I want to list here 2 suggestions of books for you to read if you are more interested in learning about these 2 topics here. The first one about growth mindset and fixed mindset, read the book Mindset by Carol Dweck, okay? So the book is called Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. Mindset, The New Psychology of Success by Carol Dweck. That's the first book. If you want to learn more about growth mindset and fixed mindset, read that book. The second book I want to recommend here is a book called Failing Forward. Okay? The book is called Failing Forward, Turning Mistakes into Stepping Stones for Success. This is a book by John Maxwell. Okay? By the way, a stepping stone is like a moment of transition, you know? So how can you turn mistakes into stepping stones for success, into just a transition for success, you know? So if you look at mistakes and failure like that, you realize that they are not really failures. They are just transitional moments or stepping stones for success, okay? So this book also talks about that. So I'm going to leave the link to the books here in the description of the video, also in the show notes. But read those books and learn more about these topics, okay? Finally, still on this topic of personal development and confidence, I would say beware or be careful with the imposter syndrome, okay? The imposter syndrome. What is the imposter syndrome? The imposter syndrome is this feeling of inadequacy, is this feeling of always doubting your abilities, okay? You feel like you are not good enough. You feel like a fraud, especially if you achieve some level of success in a field. You don't really believe that you earned that success or that you deserve that success. You still believe inside that you are a fake, you are a fraud, and pretty soon people will find out that you are not all that. You know, this is imposter syndrome. Some things to keep in mind here about imposter syndrome, okay? Everybody feels it. Everybody at some point in their lives, sometimes multiple times, you know, in their lives, feels a little bit of imposter syndrome. Okay, everybody struggles with confidence sometimes, even high performers, even top players in their field. You guys can see here in my bag, I have a Metallica poster, right? It's not really a poster, it's actually an album, okay? Right here that you can see, this is the album that I have, it's an LP, a vinyl album. We have Master of Puppets. I am a huge Metallica fan. And Metallica's frontman, James Hetfield, has always been very vocal about his struggles with insecurity, with imposter syndrome. Sometimes he feels fake. And yet, he's the frontman of one of the greatest heavy metal bands of all time. And he still feels that way from time to time. You see, so everybody feels it. So remember that. Whenever you feel like a fraud, like, your abilities are not enough, remember that. Everybody feels imposter syndrome. Something that can help you if you feel that way sometimes is talking about it with other people, especially people you love and trust. So open up with a good friend or a family member or your spouse. Openly say, look, I know I have to give this presentation here tomorrow at work, but to be honest with you, I'm not really feeling very confident about it. I'm feeling a little bit fake. I'm feeling a little bit insecure, Just talking about it, just being upfront about it helps a lot, just getting it out there, and showing this vulnerability that we all have is really powerful, okay? Because then you realize that you're not alone, yeah? Other people also face the same thing from time to time, okay? Another tip I can give you here whenever you feel imposter syndrome is just take action. Take action, just do it, okay? Don't dwell on those negative thoughts, the imposter syndrome kicking in, So we are talking here about becoming more confident as an English speaker. So if you are about to enter a conversation in English or even present something in English or walk in a job interview in English and you are starting to feel that insecurity, the imposter syndrome is kicking in, like, oh man, I can't do it. I'm not good enough. I suck or whatever. Just take action. Just start doing it. Start talking to the person. Say hello, say good morning, and start the conversation right there. Start the presentation. Okay? Walk in the interview room with a smile, So just take action, all right? Don't dwell on these negative thoughts, okay? To dwell on something is to live there, to be paralyzed there. You are living in those negative thoughts, So if you are a person who has this tendency of having these thoughts, the best solution I find is just take action. Just do the thing. Stop thinking, just do it. Because once you start putting yourself into motion, and in this case, you start talking to people, expressing yourself in English, you realize that it becomes easier. Yeah, sometimes just starting is the most difficult part of the process. So just get started, okay? I have to share a little bit about that. When I was playing guitar in bands in the past, as you guys know, I'm also a musician. I'm a guitar player, and I had bands in the past, like cover bands. We used to play, in local bars, and, it was a lot of fun, right? I don't do that anymore nowadays, but, I enjoyed that time I did it. And I remember every time I would step on stage, the first 2 or 3 songs on the set were kind of weird. I wasn't really feeling it. I wasn't really feeling so confident up there. I was playing the songs, yes, but I was kind of a little bit, let's say retracted still. But usually after the second or third song, you loosen up. And then you start enjoying yourself, and you don't even want it to stop. You want to keep playing, and then you play for 2-3 hours on stage, and it's the best feeling. So sometimes just the starting out part or the beginning part of a conversation will feel awkward or uncomfortable. But you will realize that, pretty soon you'll fall into that vibe of, okay, this is going well. I want to keep doing this. Another example about that, Stephen King, the American author, he is known for being very prolific. He writes I don't know, maybe 2-3 books a year, you know? And in one of his interviews, one of his old interviews, he talks about his process for writing. And he says that he usually sits down in front of the typewriter back then, okay? And the first 10 minutes feel a little bit off. The first 10 minutes when he's starting to write a few words, it feels off, it feels weird, strange, but then something will click inside of him, and then he will gain traction and he writes for 3-4 hours, okay? So you see, sometimes all you gotta do is just take action and start whatever it is you are afraid of starting to do, okay? So now that I have shared with you a little bit about the mindset, the personal development aspect when it comes to this topic of confidence, and also recommended some books for you to read, I want to share with you specifically some things that I did myself and that I believed helped me become a more confident speaker of English and a more confident person in general, okay? So first of all, you need to find evidence that you can speak English and communicate effectively. If you are insecure about your speaking abilities in English, that is an indication that you need to find evidence out there. You have to actively, proactively find evidence that you can speak English, that you can communicate effectively. And the only way for you to find this evidence, guess what? Is by talking to people, is by using your English in real conversations. You've got to get yourself out there. You got to join, people online and talk to them. Okay, that's the only way you're going to actually have that evidence, okay? Some examples of things you could do. You could join English learning groups. Look for English learning groups on Facebook, on Discord, okay? And join them and start interacting with people there who are also interested in learning English. You can actively look for language partners, okay? Online, in your city, in your neighborhood, yeah? Maybe a friend of yours is also interested in learning English. Become language buddies, language partners, and practice the language together, okay? You can join a conversation club, like my conversation club, for example. This is one of the reasons why I have created the conversation club, to offer people this opportunity to have that moment in their week for them to practice English conversation with me and other learners, okay? You can play video games online if you are a gamer, play video games online and talk to other players, all right? Actually, I know many people who learn English that way, or who become good speakers of English that way, just talking to other gamers while playing games online. Of course, you can enroll in English classes if you can afford it, all right? Because English classes at least will give you that once a week, twice a week moment where you get to practice your English speaking with other people, okay? You can actively look for resources online. Nowadays, we have a lot, so look for websites that connect you with other people who are interested in learning English. Look for apps that do the same thing, and test out these products and see if you like them, see if it works for you, okay? But there are resources out there, okay, for you to practice speaking English with people online, all right? And even, moving away from the online a little bit, depending on where you live, you can even go to certain places in your city where there is a higher chance of meeting tourists and foreigners. Maybe you live in a city where people usually go there to visit, It's a touristic city. So probably if you hang out around coffee shops, bars, hotels, your chances of bumping into a native speaker, a foreigner that speaks English, are higher. I come from São Paulo, right, in Brazil, and that's one of the things I did a lot back in the day to practice my conversation skills, I would hang out at Starbucks, coffee shops of that nature, sometimes be around hotels and then meet, tourists, English-speaking people, and I would just walk up to them and start talking to them, all right? So see if that's a possibility for you in your own city, all right? Another thing you can do to find more evidence for yourself that you can speak English effectively is asking for feedback. ask for feedback. I used to do that all the time too. Whenever I met an English-speaking person at a coffee shop, after I spoke to that person for 5-10 minutes, I would always end our conversation with this question. So, what do you think of my English? What's your feedback on my English? Anything you recommend I do to improve? You know? And usually people will give me positive feedback like, oh, you communicate very well, you speak very well, congratulations. You see, this kind of positive feedback also acts as reinforcement for you. And it reinforces your belief that you are capable of doing that thing. If you have classes in groups with a teacher at a school, constantly ask for feedback from your teacher, for example, ask for feedback. Ask for feedback from your peers. You see, but it's about getting yourself out there and being proactive about that. You have to actively find evidence that you can do something. In this case, that you can speak English well, okay? Something else you can do is you can look for a job that allows you to speak English every day, yeah? And nowadays, you can find work online. You can work in English online nowadays if you already have at least an intermediate level of English. Sometimes even less than that. Maybe sometimes even an A2 level, a pre-intermediate level, might land you some work opportunities already in English, okay? In my case, that was also a factor, because my first work experience fully in English was at a call center when I was 19. I worked at this call center for 1 year, okay? And I've already shared that story here in a previous episode. That job consisted of speaking to Americans on the phone 6 hours a day, 6 days a week. So that experience helped me a lot with my speaking skills, my overall confidence to talk to people. Okay. And after that 1 year experience at the call center, I started teaching English right away. Guys, I started teaching English exactly in 2007. Okay. I started teaching English in 2007. I'm making this video now. I'm recording this video in 2024. So it's been 17 years already that I work as an English teacher. And because I've been a teacher for so long, that has also helped me build more confidence because, the work of an English teacher, the job of an English teacher involves thinking about English, studying English, preparing classes, and talking to students, teaching students every single day. So can you imagine using your English every single day for many years? Okay? So in my case, for example, combining the 17 years of experience I have as a teacher, plus the 1 year experience at the call center, that's already 18 years that I have accumulated in my life, speaking English every single day. And from my home country, okay? I don't live in an English-speaking country, all right? So look for a job, look for work opportunities that allow you to speak English every day. If you are already at an intermediate level, if you can understand everything I'm saying here, and if you can already communicate somewhat, chances are you already have enough English to, apply for certain positions, all right? And that's one of the great things also because, you get paid while you improve your English speaking abilities. It's awesome, all right? So the main point I'm trying to make here is that confidence in anything comes from doing this thing many, many, many times, okay? The more you do something, the more confident you will get at that thing, okay? Think about anything that you do well, yeah? I'm sure that the reason why you do it well and the reason why you feel confident doing it is because you have already been doing it many times, for years, probably. That's how it works. Confidence is built up like that, by getting out there and doing that thing. In that case, you want to become more confident to speak English? Guess what? You have to speak English a lot. If you don't have many opportunities nowadays to speak English, you have to actively be looking for opportunities to practice your English speaking, okay? So be creative with that. Look online, talk to people, but find opportunities that will allow you to practice your speaking more frequently, ideally every day. Now, something else that I did in my life as an English learner that I also believe was essential for building up my confidence as an English speaker and user was this. I deliberately studied and learned English pronunciation. I deliberately took time to study and learn English pronunciation. Why do we usually feel lack of confidence before doing something or insecure with that task? Because many times we don't fully understand, or we don't really understand how that works. So since we don't really understand how something works, we naturally feel lack of confidence because we don't have a lot of knowledge about that thing. So we think that we're not going to perform that task, that thing well enough because we lack knowledge about that thing, okay? So if you want to speak English with more confidence, you need to understand how the sounds of English work, okay? And again, that's another reason why I created my pronunciation course. My pronunciation course is all about that. It's for you to learn the main sounds of the English language, how to pronounce the words, the sounds, connected speech, how to better connect the sounds in a sentence so you can speak with more flow. That's the reason why I created it, you know? Because if you gain this knowledge, if you have more understanding about English speaking and pronunciation, you will naturally feel more confident, okay? And you know why? Because most people, guys, don't care about learning pronunciation as much as they should. And I'm talking from experience. I've been teaching English for 17 years now. I've been in this business of learning English and teaching it for over 20 years now. And I can attest to this. In my life, I've noticed that people, learners, even some teachers, you know, they don't care about learning pronunciation as much as they should care. So when I saw that, I instantly realized that, hey, so I'm going to be the one who's going to focus on learning pronunciation. I'm going to dedicate time to learn more about English pronunciation because that way I'm going to stand out because I'm going to have better pronunciation than everybody else here. And therefore, you feel more confident because you have knowledge that other people don't have. And part of the reason why I see that many people don't care about learning pronunciation as much as they should is because of this statement that I hear all the time. What matters to me is understand other people and be understood. Look, I agree that the primary reason why we learn languages is to communicate and connect with other people. I agree with that 100%. But be careful with this statement because you might be using this statement as an excuse not to improve your English pronunciation, not to take it further, not to dedicate time to learn about it, okay? And this is really bad, guys. In my personal opinion, in my honest opinion, this is really bad when I hear, and I've heard teachers, guys, I've heard some teachers in my life saying this, you know, like Brazilian teachers. I've taken my pronunciation as far as I could. You know, I can't learn more. I can't develop more. This is what I got. This is what I have. No. Okay? You can always learn. You can always improve. Yeah? And that's exactly what I did. You know, I always took pronunciation seriously. You know, that was a key component of English learning for me. And consequently, one of the reasons why I've always felt more confident speaking English is because of that. Because I know about English pronunciation. Do I speak it perfectly? Of course not. You know, I am a non-native English speaker. I don't speak perfectly. But the mere fact that I've dedicated time to learn about pronunciation and to develop my English speech has already placed me above average when it comes to non-native speakers of English. Okay? And I want the same thing for you. All right? So, deliberately learn and study pronunciation. That's a great way to build up your confidence as an English speaker already. Funny enough, by studying English pronunciation and becoming better at English pronunciation, that is exactly the thing that will increase your confidence to speak the language. All right? It will make you stand out. In a job interview, for example, in a group, whenever people hear you speaking English, they're going to go, wow, I mean, great English you got there. All right? In my case, guys, talking about my work experience, I have to be honest with you, it was never very hard for me to get a job in my industry as an English teacher. It was never very hard. Yeah? Because many times I would go to an interview and all I had to do was open my mouth, and my pronunciation, my speech was already my calling card. The recruiter would hear me and go, okay, he's the guy. Yeah, this guy's good. Now let me just ask some follow-up questions to see if, he's a good fit. But in terms of ability, yeah, I know he can take the job. I know he can do the work. You see, guys, from personal experience, I can attest to this, okay? Dedicating time to improving your pronunciation and general speech in English is really worthwhile. It becomes your calling card. It becomes the unfair advantage that you have, especially when looking for work, all right? So dedicate time to that, okay? And talking about YouTube here, yeah, I see many comments from you guys saying things like, Thiago, I can understand a lot of what you say, or everything you say, you speak so clearly. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. But know that I speak this way today because I actually took time to study pronunciation, to learn about pronunciation, and I recommend you do the same, okay? And I just want to close this episode by saying that if you want to feel more confident as an English speaker and user, learn more about the language as a whole. Yeah, not just about the pronunciation, but, learn more grammar, become better at English grammar, become better at vocabulary, learn more words and nice expressions you can use, become better at writing, write more precisely using the correct punctuation, using nice constructions, all right? And become a better listener as well. Test your listening skills, both for the gist, for the main idea, and also for specific information, as I have already discussed in a previous episode. By improving your level of English as a whole, by dedicating time to studying it, to learning it, you will naturally feel confident or more confident when it's time to use your English in the real world, to speak English with real people, okay? But remember, this comes with time. That's why it's important for you to enjoy the process, focus on the systems, the process, study constantly, practice constantly, and trust that with time, your confidence will build as an English speaker. All right, guys, that's all I have for this episode. I hope you found it useful. I hope this episode gave you some food for thought about confidence and building up your confidence in English. And don't forget to check out my conversation club if you are available every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. BRT to join the live classes. And if you are already an intermediate level speaker, you are more than welcome to join. Links here in the description, pinned comment, and in the show notes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And also check out my pronunciation course, which is still on pre-sale. All the links are here under the video and also in the show notes. I'm Thiago, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll be talking to you very soon in the upcoming video. Bye-bye.